This year, I read over 200 comic books. These are my top 10 new comic series of 2025. Each book here earned its place based on impact to me. Every single one of these resonated with me on an emotional level and stuck with me long after I finished the last panel. One of them even made me cry a little bit. Before we start, some of these series are finished, some of them are still ongoing. Everything I'm about to mention is spoiler-free. Let's get started. At number 10 is Starship Godzilla. This one pulled me into a genre that I've never explored before, which are kaiju stories with a strong anime vibe. This was really interesting to me because Godzilla isn't this all-encompassing threat like he is in the movies and other depictions. It's actually a Godzilla-shaped spaceship that they live in, which is pretty cool. That being said, there are a lot of kaijus in the story and in the action overall. I grabbed it exclusively for the cover art and the novelty of the concept and to try something new. But the first issue genuinely surprised me and pulled me in. There's a lot of great character development, and it takes place in this world, in this universe that has rules and history in it, which I love. This issue is only 3 in at the time of this video, so it is an early standout for me. I generally give series 3 or 4 issues to really pull me in before I decide if I'm going to keep them on my list, but this one took me in right away. If you like anime, kaiju, sort of Western space-themed elements, then this is a series that's definitely worth checking out. Number 9 is Save Now. This series has major Edge of Tomorrow vibes. The main character can respond to earlier save points so that if they are fighting a battle and it's not going well, they can go back in time and restart it. The catch in this situation is that the main character continues to age. This aging mechanism has real-world consequences. It makes it emotionally devastating. The characters, the writing, the pacing, the concept, the amazing artwork, it all drew me in at once. At the time of this video, there's only 2 issues out. I can't wait for the 3rd one. If you are interested in good artwork and character-driven time travel that has real emotional weight to it, then this is definitely worth checking out. Number 8 is Ghost Pepper. This comic was suggested to me by my wife, who loves it, and it has such a distinct voice. It's set in a world that takes place after this apocalyptic event, and now these giant robots protect humanity. But not everyone's benefiting equally. The lead character owns a food truck, and she gets this patron that comes in, and it sets off this huge chain of events. What really grabbed me about this story, though, was world building. A lot of these post-apocalyptic stories can lean almost too much in the Western part of things, or they can take place in this futuristic world where the whole planet is one city. But that's not the case here. You'll have these big open landscapes that have little bits of technology, massive buildings, big robots, but there's still a wide sense of space that is in the story. And you can feel that sense of scale. Ludo's art is kinetic and expressive. The action feels really clear and dynamic. I think if you like more manga and anime influenced art and style, and you like stories where the world itself feels like this massive character, then I think Ghost Pepper is definitely worth your time. Now this is when the list starts to get a little bit heavier. Number 7 is Everything Dead and Dying. This is technically a zombie comic, which is not something I'm typically interested in, but it's not about survival, it's about grief. It flips the whole zombie genre on its head and was not at all what I was expecting going into this. The main character is this guy named Jack, and he's caring for his husband and his adopted daughter, who are both zombies. Every single comic has a flashback of Jack's life before the zombie incident occurred. The flashbacks show everything in his life that was such a challenge and how much he worked to obtain the family that he has now and is desperately trying to keep, despite them being zombies and the whole world being screwed. Everything Dead and Dying really succeeds at weaponizing that tension you feel between empathy and disgust. Like, this guy has worked so hard for the family that he has, but they are disgusting zombies and they're like eating raw meat and stuff. So there's so much of like a gory element and you feel disgust, but then at the same time, you're like, I get why he's doing it. What makes it unique too is that this series tackles queerness and bigotry in a small town and grief, all under the guise of a zombie story. The writing is just so sharp. All the characters are so well defined. This is a horror comic that is actually about grief and attachment and human nature. And it still maintains that element of zombie stories that are kind of gory, but it has so much more emotional resonance. I love this one. Number 6 is Sleep. Xander Cannon did the writing and the art for this book. This is probably the most visually unique book that I've read all year. It's about this guy that every time he falls asleep, something terrible happens, like a monster is unleashed in his town. It focuses on the main character and his fear of his own subconscious mind and the effects that it has on his friends and all the people that live in this small town with him. What makes it unique is the visuals. The entire book is a near monochromatic color palette. It's mostly black, white, and gray. But there are little splashes of red on various objects that act sort of as clues to the monsters. When you're reading this book, you're resonating with the story and the characters, but every now and then you'll see little things that are red and you're like, what is that tied to? What's the mystery with that? Over time, more color has crept in, and it's interesting to see color as being one of the main characters in a book like this. I enjoy the sort of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of story, sort of thing that resonates with humans of like realizing that sometimes you are the monster. There has also been a really slow unraveling of the main character in this story. The final 2 issues have not been released yet, so it's been really great to see the tension slowly building leading up to this finale of this series. If you like psychological horror, that's more about dread and tension than it is about actual gore, this is an essential one. Number 5 on my list is We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. This is a 6-issue series that just finished. It is a spy series that has some James Bond sort of vibes to it. There's this young girl, her father is this mad scientist, and he is killed by the world's greatest spy. The rest of the series follows the girl and her robot bodyguard as they attempt to get answers and decide if they want to lead a normal life or get revenge on the people that killed her father. It has super spies and mad scientists and robots and family and revenge, and it has this sort of 60s, 70s retro vibe to it. All of the characters are really fleshed out and they are interesting and unique. The art is gorgeous, the colors are really dynamic. I am not often involved in reading spy thrillers, so I didn't know where this was gonna go. Every single issue left me hanging. There were new characters that were introduced all the way up to the end, and I still didn't anticipate the ending. If you like spy thrillers, stories about revenge, or you just wanna see a beautiful, well-drawn, interesting series, this is a must-read. The trade paperback is coming out soon too, so you can get all 6 of them bundled together. Cool. Okay, number 4 is Escape. This is a wartime thriller where the main character is a bomber pilot and he crash lands in the city that he just bombed. He has a certain amount of time before his side of the military drops an even bigger bomb in that city. And so he needs to finish his mission before that happens and somehow navigate his way through the ruins of the city in enemy territory without getting caught, without getting hurt, to get back to his family. The story is unique in that it is told with I don't even know what the right word is now. Anthropomorphic. That's it. The story is told with anthropomorphic animals. And in the first issue, the creators stated that they made this choice because there's been studies that show that people feel more empathy toward animals than they do people. Making them animals makes it so much more visceral and intense. Additionally, both of the creators have stated that they've had individuals in their life that were involved in different war efforts, and those stories were always so interesting to hear, and how war has this profound effect on everybody involved. And it's their passion to sort of retell those stories that led them to work together on this. And I find that anytime the creators have a direct personal connection to what they're creating, the story is just so much better. This series is only 4 issues in, but there's such an emotional weight in it. It feels real, it feels devastating. There's like a real moral complexity to this and a sense of tension in the story because every issue he's trapped. Overall, the art is gorgeous. Acunha's paintings are just so beautiful and fun to look at. The page layouts are amazing. If you like unconventional war stories, beautiful art, or stories that make you think about issues that arise up in different types of conflict, then Escape is essential. I adore this one. Number 3 is Bug Wars. Jason Aaron has described this as like Game of Thrones meets Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. This kid gets shrunk down to the size of an insect, and he's thrown into this brutal fantasy world with there's like spider witches and there's ant armies and there's like these barbarians that ride beetles. And this is sort of the same world that his father was investigating in, and his father is dead at the beginning of the story. So there's an overall sense of mystery to it as well. Overall, the scale blew me away. There is so much thought put into the world building. Everything is so unique. It also feels kind of lewd in some parts. It's kind of brutal in some parts. It's so crazy and fantastical, and every single issue ends with like field notes of real names of bugs and drawings, and I find it so interesting. Asrar's art makes everything feel so intense and real and dynamic, and Jason Aaron pulls it all together and grounds it in like a family drama. There's a trade paperback that just came out of it, but I believe they're starting to branch out and tell other stories, and I cannot wait. This is such a fascinating and interesting read, and I feel they barely touched on any of the mythology that's involved in this story. So I'm really, really excited. Bug Wars is awesome. All right, we're down to the final two, and what surprised me, but not really, was that both of these were written by the same guy. Number 2 is Absolute Martian Manhunter. This is written by Dennis Camp and drawn by Javier Rodriguez. The hype on this is real. I picked this up because the cover art looked cool, but I was blown away by the storytelling and the art. This is personal storytelling disguised as a superhero comic. They completely flipped the script on this superhero, this classic superhero, and told a story about isolation and loneliness. The art in this is so surreal and unsettling, and it's used so strategically that it really gives an emotional impact to the story. If you like character-driven superhero stories that feel literary, then this is absolutely essential. This completely changed my mind, and I cannot wait for the next part of this series. All right, I said that my number 1 made me cry and that it's also written by Dennis Camp. My number 1 comic for 2025 is Assorted Crisis Events. Every single one of these was so emotionally resonant and incredible. It's an anthology series about time travel gone wrong. I read somewhere that it's like Black Mirror meets time travel, but with a lot more heart. What's great is that you don't have to start from the beginning on this. I highly recommend that you read each one of them. Each issue is a standalone story about a person whose timeline is broken. Some people are aging backwards. Some people are stuck in a loop over and over again. Some people are living in multiple timelines. These stories tackle immigration, generational trauma, love across broken timelines, and it does it with such incredible empathy. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now. Each issue has been phenomenal, but the 7th issue hit me so hard I had to put this thing down. I have been with my wife for 10 years, and this story was about a woman whose husband was having a time event where one day he might be a 3-year-old, and the next moment he might be 78 years old. It just hit so hard. I was tearing up before the thing was over. I have not had such a reaction to a comic book ever. I literally can't stop thinking about it. I recommend it to everybody. Dennis Camp did Absolute Martian Manhunter, he did Assorted Crisis Events, and he's also penning the Ultimates. And the dude has had a phenomenal year. The fact that he's in my top 2, he's put on the list of people that I'm gonna, anytime he does anything, I'm gonna buy it. I don't care what it is. Additionally, Eric Zawadzki, the artist, is awesome. And the colorist, Jordi Bellaray, is awesome. Every single one of these issues was just so beautiful to look at. This has 10 out of 10 story, 10 out of 10 illustration. The coloring is phenomenal. I can't think of anything wrong with this. I literally can't. This is peak. This is what comics are at their best. It is so, so, so good. Okay, those are my top comics of 2025. All of these comics were started and had their first issue in 2025, but there are a lot of ongoing series that I'm reading out of this, and I wanna give some honorable mentions and shout outs to them because they are such a large part of the diet of comic books that I consume. I'd be remiss to not talk about DC's Absolute Universe. I've been a Marvel guy through and through. They've been killing it with the Absolute series. The Absolute series has been so good. My personal favorite is Absolute Wonder Woman. I have never read a Wonder Woman comic, but I picked this up, and this series completely changed my mind on the character. It reimagines Diana, and it grounds her in this mythology and a lot of personal struggle and the weight that you can feel when you're sort of like a beacon of hope or like an ambassador for peace in a world that is like cruel and broken, which resonates so much with, I feel, the state of the world right now. The character work is phenomenal. The writing is awesome. The art is amazing. I care deeply about this character. Absolute Batman, so good as well. I love Nick Dragata's artwork. Scott Snyder is one of the top writers in the industry right now. I love the monsterification of all of these villains. It's such a good way to take a twist on the story and make it so much more interesting. I love it. Second only to Wonder Woman to me. Also, Jason Aaron, Absolute Superman. It's such a darker, grittier take on Superman, and I love that it asks that question of what is it like being a hero in a world that might not be worth saving? How do you make that choice? It's so compelling. Always a big fan of the darker Superman. It hasn't resonated with me as much emotionally as Wonder Woman has or Batman, but I'm still here for it. I love it. Personally, Green Lantern kind of fell off after a few issues for me, so I'm not picking that up anymore. And same with Flash. I can't imagine going back to that, but if I'm wrong, let me know. I'm more of a Marvel guy, but I feel this year hasn't really been the best. That being said, I have been trying to keep up with most of the Ultimate titles for 2025. The Ultimate at first was a little iffy to me, but I have so much trust in Dennis Camp that I dug into it, and now I think it's my favorite of the Ultimate line. I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing how Ultimate Endgame pays off. Ultimate Wolverine and Ultimate Spider-Man were two other books that I was consuming pretty heavily this year. I like the tone, I like the character work. Not too much of an emotional connection with those, but I'm enjoying the artwork and the overall pacing of the plot. And I think it does enough new stuff that it's still interesting. Now, Ultimate X-Men is not something I'm currently reading. I read the first 7 or 8 issues, and I gotta give credit to Peach Momoko. I think that she is doing something genuinely fresh with the series and with the characters. It's visually unique, it's tonally unique. I love that it's leaning more into a manga approach. It just didn't really hit that much with me. But that being said, I can't knock it. I think it's really cool and it's a fresh take on the series. I just finished the first 2 volumes of Black Panther, and I could barely tell you what happened in those. Every time I started a new issue, I was kind of confused. I didn't know what was going on. I don't know a lot about them as a character. I think that might be part of the reason why it didn't resonate with me that much. Those are the other big ongoing series that have shaped what I've read this year. I want to hear from you guys. What 2025 series lingered with you the most? Is there anything I'm missing that I need to check out going into 2026? Drop your recommendations in the comments. If you like indie heavy, emotional forward comic talk like this, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and I'll see you guys then.